What is up, my friends, and welcome to another edition of AEW Week in Review. I am your host, Mark Perry, editor of Pro Wrestling News Hub, covering pro wrestling and not sports entertainment. On this week's show, we got a recap of what's going on, everything that happened on AEW Dynamite, what's the schedule looking like for next week, changes going on at TNT, we'll get into that, and so much more. Plus, we'll check in with our friend, Mr. Fourth Row. Now, I'm sure you're wondering, what the heck was going on? Where were you last week? XFL happened last week. You all know, you heard the news, The Rock bought the XFL, and as you know, we do XFL News Hub, Pro Wrestling News Hub, XFL News Hub, and XFL Week in Review. That was big news. That took up everything. Things will start to calm down a little bit. We'll get back into a rhythm, and we're doing really good with Pro Wrestling News Hub, and this podcast, AEW Week in Review, is starting to continue to grow. So we'll just keep going every week. Maybe we might slow down if the XFL season actually happens in February. We'll see what happens. But it was a crazy week. Couldn't get to it. Now we're back doing our thing AEW style. And I'm so happy because I really enjoyed the show. We'll get into that and the ratings and so much more. Question of the week we'll have after we get through this recap and the news. I think you'll want to check that out. And so without further ado, folks. So how do you get in touch with the show? Simple. You email podcast at ProWrestlingNewsHub.com with your MP3 or videos, or call 888-430-7692 extension 3. Remember, cutoff time is 6 p.m. Eastern on Thursday. Leave us a review on Apple Podcasts. We appreciate that on the show. Question of the week. Question of the week. We'll just hit it right now. Do you think AEW Dynamite should move to Monday nights? That's not been something out there that people have been talking about, the success of the ratings, that the fact that AEW is starting to take down as having better of the key demographic, or part of the key demographic they're doing better at than Raw is. Is there blood in the water? It's Shark Week. Maybe a move, AEW Dynamite to Monday nights. Think about it. That's our question of the week. We'll get into your social media stuff and so much more, friends. So without further ado, folks, let's just get into the week that was AEW. All right, let's go through a quick review of the Women's Tag Team Cup as well as AEW Dark results. First up on the Women's Tag Team Tournament, the Deadly Draw. The results are Big Swole and Lil Swole defeated Leva Bates and Riche Chanel. Evil Essie and Diamante defeated Dasha and Rachel Ellering. So the semifinals will be the Nightmare Sisters versus Big Swole and Lil Swole. Taya Conte and Anna Jay versus Evil Essie and Diamante. On to AEW Dark results, real quick. Ray Phoenix defeated Lee Johnson in a singles match. Sean Spears defeated Alex Chamberlain. The Gun Club, Billy, which you can't say gun because of copyright stuff, and Austin Gunn defeated Mbadu and Sean Dean in a tag match. Superbad, Kip Sabian defeated Michael Stevens. Private Party, Isaiah Cassidy and Mark Quinn defeated Griff Garrison and Brian Pillman Jr. Then we start getting into some of the good matches of the night. Jurassic Express, Jungle Boy, Luchasaurus, Marko, Stunt defeated Pineapple Pete, Corey Hollis, and Aaron Solo. Natural Nightmares, Dustin Rhodes and QT Marshall defeated Hybrid 2, Jack Evans, and Angelico. This one I wasn't sure which way it would go, but Natural Nightmares come out. Hybrid 2 needs some work in the ring just to get their game back going. Penelope Ford defeated Rachel Ellering. This was a good match as well. Penelope Ford has come a long way in the new post-COVID era. And finally, the match of the night, the main event, The Butcher and the Blade defeated SCU, Christopher Daniels, and Frankie Kazarian. All right, let's recap the results of AEW Dynamite. A great, fantastic show. You should check it out if you've missed it, even watching it on a replay. Fun throughout the 2 hours of AEW Dynamite. First up, we have the Young Bucks, Matt and Nick Jackson, taking on the Dark Order. Ranked number 4, the Young Bucks, the Dark Order, Evil Uno, and Stu Grayson, who I'm a big fan of Stu Grayson. They're ranked number 3. Winners, the Young Bucks. I gave that a 3.5 star. And my special elite match of the night. This was a great match, but the whole show had tons of good matches. But to me, this one was the best, the elite match of the night. So the Young Bucks take that one. We have check-in from NJF, check-in from Matt Hardy. We got news, Mike Chioda is now a referee in AEW. He was released recently, as all the other WWE personnel was. It was kind of a surprising one because he'd been with WWE for a long time. So Mike Chioda is now a referee in AEW, which is good. And I don't think we saw Aubrey Edwards at all this evening. So maybe she's taking the week off, perhaps. TNT Championship match he called. The American Nightmare, Cody versus Scorpio Sky. Again, another great match. And this was on the cusp of being my elite match of the night. But you can only have one winner, folks. And Cody was your winner. Gave this one a 3.5 star as well. Great match for the night, but not the elite. It was close. It was between these two matches. But Cody is your winner. And then it was announced that Brody Lee will take on Cody next week on the Saturday night edition of AEW Dynamite, which is sort of coinciding with NXT's pay-per-view, though that will be interesting. AEW World Championship match, tag match, Kenny Omega and Hangman Page versus the number 5th ranked Jurassic Express, Luchasaurus, and Jungle Boy with Marko Stunt. Another excellent match. Slowed down a little bit. I thought Kenny Omega might have been hurt. However, your winners, Kenny Omega and Hangman Page, gave this one a 3.5 stars. Thought this was a great match too. Always Kenny Omega and Hangman. If I'm gonna pick who I think might lose some kind of title first, I think it should be these guys and give it to some other tag team. There's plenty of tag team depth now. Somebody's got to take this belt off of them. I think a belt might switch hands in September. Then we had the tag team appreciation, and there was a little scuffle and some fighting went on. That was an interesting segment. Not sure what this is leading to. I mean, Tully basically let him have it, and then the little fracas broke out. So I'm not really sure what was going. This was definitely a setup to something. They were all kissing their selves butts, saying how great they, this, that, and the other thing. And then the little fracas happened. So you're going to have to see that segment to see what I'm talking about. But this was definitely setting up something, but I'm not really sure. Then we had Hikaru Shida versus a newcomer, Heather Monroe. Didn't really know much about her. She was kind of, people are criticizing AEW's women division. I just think the problem is right now is they're very thin. Riho is not around. Chris Statlander is hurt. Britt Baker is hurt. So really you have Shida, Swole, and Nyla Rose. And who knows what they're trying to plan for or go towards. But they're just, the female roster is thin. So you just have to deal with it. Of course, Hikaru Shida takes the win. And then finally your $7,000 obligation match, the DemoGod Chris Jericho versus freshly squeezed Orange Cassidy. Shocker! Orange Cassidy is your winner. I mean, it was okay. I think Cassidy missed a couple spots during the match. That's why I gave it a 3 stars. But the ending was shocking and it was a lot of fun. So Orange Cassidy beats Chris Jericho. That was a shocker. So this feud is not over, and it's also going to run all the way to September. But overall, a great night of wrestling on AEW Dynamite as always. No complaints from me. Unlike when I used to watch WWE garbage, I was frustrated all the time. Thoroughly enjoyed myself, and it was a lot better than last week's show, too. TV ratings are in, and AEW Dynamite finishes 9th, while NXT finishes 65th. That's right, 65th overall. The ratings for the Wednesday, August 12th, 2020 edition of AEW Dynamite and NXT were released Thursday. According to a report by Showbuzz Daily, AEW finished 9th overall for the night, while NXT finished 65th. That's one of the lowest I have seen. AEW drew 792,000 viewers, down from last week's 900,000, which was a little surprising. They finished 5th last week and have either been the 5th or 6th spot for the last 3 weeks. Dynamite was live this week at Daly's Place in Jacksonville, Florida, and I thought that because it was live, we could potentially hit another 900,000, but we'll get into why that audience might have been a little fractured a little bit later. NXT drew 619,000 viewers, way down from last week's 753,000 viewers. It finished 65th overall, way down from last week's 27th. May 20th was the last time NXT finished outside of the top 50 shows on cable. The total combined wrestling audience for both shows was also down, 1.411 million. It was 1.654 million viewers last week, but that 1.411 million viewers was kind of the normal range the last couple months. Now, based on the ratings, 3 news programs were in the top 5 shows. However, news only accounted for 6 shows in the top 15 this week. Shark Week was big. NBA was in the top 5, and NHL was around 11th, I think. So those shows dominated the top 15 in ratings for Wednesday night. It looks like Shark Week, the NBA, and NHL games really kind of took some of that AEW audience and NXT audience away from pro wrestling. But now that we're going into a couple weeks where ratings will be stagnant, where they'll Raw, NXT or AEW will be on Wednesday, or will not be on Wednesday, but they'll either be on Saturday or Thursday. It'll be really interesting to see how the ratings look over the next couple weeks. Darby Allin and Priscilla Kelly reportedly are getting a divorce. One of All Elite Wrestling's fastest rising, yet unique and unorthodox stars, Darby Allin, and his wife, top indie star Priscilla Kelly, are reportedly in the process of getting a divorce. Priscilla Kelly took to Twitter on Monday and issued a statement on how her life has been lately due to COVID-19 and the difficulty of losing a job and going through a divorce. Oh. She also said that this is a time for her to begin a new chapter in her life. Kelly said the following: "The last few months have been extremely difficult, and there's been a lot of questions, not only due to COVID and the loss of work for myself, but also due to the fact that Darby and I have been going through a divorce. There's been a lot of ups and downs, but we have come to the conclusion that we are just not compatible together as people. We are on great terms and wish only the best for each other. There are no hard feelings, as we both understand that this is what is best. I know a lot of you have supported us for a long time as a duo, and we appreciate it so much, but this decision is what's best for both of us and our well-being. I hope to see him continue his rise in the entertainment industry and take the world by storm, as he already is. As for me, it's time to begin a new chapter." So we at Pro Wrestling News Hub wish them the best, and it'll be interesting to see Priscilla Kelly, what happens with her on the indie scene. Excalibur is set to return to AEW commentary in August 26th. The AEW commentator Excalibur was forcibly put on hiatus and was initially thought to have symptoms maybe of COVID, because the same thing Tony Schiavone had, where he was late or maybe he had COVID, but reportedly he was told to stay home and not report to work due to some controversial racism incident that happened during his pro wrestling guerrilla days. The incident took place 17 years ago and involved stars such as Excalibur, Kevin Steen, a.k.a. Kevin Owens, you've heard of him, Human Tornado, and Disco Machine. According to Dave Metzler, everyone who was involved said some pretty bad racial slurs, but immediately regretted it and even apologized for them afterwards. Despite the immediate apology and the incident taking place nearly 17 years ago, Excalibur was still removed from commentary on the July 29th episode of Dynamite, as well as the August 5th episode of Dynamite and recent episodes of AEW Dark. Excalibur was originally expected to make his return on commentary this week, but it looks like AEW has decided to push that a couple weeks more, as Metzler noted that Excalibur will be making his return to commentary on August 26th, on the August 26th episode of Dynamite. AEW Dynamite is going to have a little schedule change for 3 dates in August and September. In a recent press release, TNT, the network home of AEW Dynamite, revealed the station's plans to preempt episodes of Dynamite starting in mid-August. The reason for the changes is to fit in the NBA playoff schedule. The NBA season, of course, was pushed back due to the whole lockdown. Yeah, we all know. So the breakdown of the dates are as follows. So August 19th, episode of AEW Dynamite will air on Saturday, August 22nd at 6 p.m. That show, I definitely expect, will take a huge hit in the ratings. Moving from one time slot to another is always damaging, let alone going from a Wednesday to a 6 o'clock on a Saturday. It is before the NXT TakeOver, I believe, which starts at 7. Maybe they're trying to capture some of that audience to check out Dynamite before they switch over to NXT. Could be interesting, but I don't see the ratings being that great. August 26th and September 16th episodes will air at 8 p.m. on Thursdays. Now, 8 p.m. on Thursdays will be interesting because there is no NXT competition. Now, there might be other things on Thursday night, so it'll be real interesting to see how AEW does. But switching to Thursday night, I still think they could potentially bring out strong ratings, but I don't think we'll see the 800, 900,000 not on a Wednesday with its shifting schedules like that. Typically, shows will always take a big hit. Cody Rhodes addresses the Warner Media shakeup and its impact on the AEW contract. So if you haven't heard, Warner Media is the people that own TNT and a bunch of other properties like HBO and HBO Max and all that kind of stuff. Well, there was recently announced that the president of TNT, Kevin Riley, and he's president of other things, would be leaving the company as part of a major corporate shakeup. Riley was a big supporter of All Elite Wrestling and a friend of Tony Khan's. He was one of the major driving forces behind Khan creating AEW following a meeting the two had in April of 2018. Khan talked about the importance of meeting with Riley. He said, quote, "I have explained that to them pretty clearly in the interview. To be fair, I officially started on the project that became AEW on April 6, 2018, when I saw my friend Kevin Riley at a party in Beverly Hills and said that I was interested in creating a wrestling league plus working together," close quote. Now, that Riley is gone from TNT, many wonder how this change could affect AEW's current deal and their position within the cable company. Their current deal is set to expire at the end of 2023. When I heard the news, the first thing I thought of was, this isn't good. The AEW Executive Vice President Cody Rhodes quickly reassured fans over the weekend when a fan asked him if people should be worried. Quote, "No, we have been blessed to have had so many viewers, even opposed. Thus, the 3+ year extension. It's a great partnership," close quote. Usually these types of moves, however, are bad for wrestling shows. This happened back to WCW back in the day when they had changes. But of course, we all know WCW was a mess anyways, but they wanted to basically distance themselves from pro wrestling. Hopefully, with the strong ratings, that will make fans of the TNT management team fans of AEW. But this is not something that could potentially just go away. I am a little concerned about this because we have seen it many times, and even on local smaller promotions where somebody new comes in and they want to change the dynamic. Now, is TNT going to get rid of NBA basketball, I doubt it. That's a big ratings generator from them. So they do sports. I'm not really sure what this person could potentially do that's any different than what anybody else has done with TNT, but it was definitely a stretch for TNT to put wrestling back on, and they have been rewarded with great ratings. So only time will tell on if this shakeup within TNT has an impact on All Elite Wrestling. Did you know you can get all the latest AEW news right from your phone? That's right, we're excited to announce the Pro Wrestling News Hub app. That's right, and it's free. You can get it for your iPhone. You can get it for your Google Android phone. And they're both free. You get all our breaking AEW news, information from Pro Wrestling News Hub right from your phone. You can just visit the Apple Store or the Google Play Store. What do you get? You get the latest news from Pro Wrestling News Hub. You get push notifications when a new post or story comes out. You get our podcast on the phone. You can leave us a review on iTunes, links to our social media, and so much more. All you have to do is, if you have an iPhone, go to the iTunes store and just look up Pro Wrestling News Hub and download it. Just type in AEW News. You can get our phone app, and guess it is free, my friends. It's free. So head over. You get all the latest news right from your phone, from your friends from Pro Wrestling News Hub, whether you have an iPhone or an Android. And it's best of all, it's free. All right, let's first start off with Facebook, our Facebook page. AEW Women's Tag Team Cup, the Deadly Draw results. Gray, I would say our Facebook champion. If the Nightmare Sisters win the tournament, we riot. Remove the dots. I guess that's a Facebook block thing. I'm with you. I don't want to see, I would rather see, if I was going to see an ending to this, I would rather, I mean, we got Big Swole, Little Swole against Nightmare Sisters, and Ivalese and Diamante versus Teocante and Anna Jay. Anna Jay is not ready, so I think Ivalese, I'm probably saying it wrong, Diamante should win, and then really it should be Big Swole and Little Swole, and not the Nightmare Sisters. That's what it should be. I have a feeling it's going to be Nightmare Sisters, and I agree. If they win it, they really shouldn't. They really shouldn't. I know they've been a team longer than anybody else, but those are the two that would bring in some ratings, or at least have some good wrestling matches on Dynamite. And we need to build up Big Swole. So why bring Brandy and Allie in the mix and let Big Swole get the win and win the tournament? That's how I would roll it. So I agree with Gray on that one. On the Twitter, Mr. Fourth Row, I was wondering if it would be available to stream on the TNT app at the same time. He's talking about the change in times coming up in next week. We got NBA on TNT, so it's going to be moved to Saturday at 6 p.m. That's right, Saturday at 6 p.m. I think we'll do the show after that. It'll be a quick recap, I have a feeling. He also says, Mr. Fourth Row, also during the show, I was like, wow, there were some fans in the stands. If you didn't notice that, there were fans in the stands. He says actually not. It's been reporting as Jaguars employees and families as well as some VIPs. I heard that later on as well. But it was still nice to them actually admit that there was fans in the stands, and this could potentially be something down the road. I mean, the whole thing needs to chill out a little bit in Florida till we get some fans in the stands. But it would be nice to get at least some people in there. And I don't think they were as loud as some of the. I mean, if you're in there, it is your duty, it is your mission to be as loud as possible the whole time. Let's hope that no idiot in there spills the beans with any spoilers, because I ignore them if there are in there. Nas not 3 or less on the Twitter talking about the ratings report, and he says no way USA will keep NXT with these numbers. They're still a top 50 show for the most part. I don't know how much they're paying for it. That would be a key. It's like if they're paying just as much for NXT as they are as, AEW or TNT is getting paid for AEW, which I doubt. But even if they were, that would be bad. Then I could see them pulling the plug. It depends on what they're paying for that. All right, let's get to our phone call. You know what time it is. You know who it is. It's Mr. Fourth Row.
It's a go for another phone call there from Mr. Fourth Row. Hey, AEW Week in Review and Mr. Mark. I guess we didn't have an episode last week, but that was because of all the XFL news that was breaking. And if I could side note on that for a little bit, God, isn't that just a wild, crazy turn of events? The Rock forming a ownership group to buy the XFL. Man, I remember when the XFL came out way back when, and the WWE helped promoting it, and we had The Rock doing a MC or opening act kind of thing for a game or two, and I believe even The Undertaker did something as well, if my memory serves me for that. So, but anyways, since we didn't have an episode last week, this is going to be kind of a longer little submission for me, if that is okay, so we can talk about the 2 weeks kind of since we haven't recorded, and just kind of I was just kind of asked to do kind of maybe a general reaction that I had of the last 2 weeks. And let me also apologize if my voice is a little off. Allergies acting up, and also in Colorado here, we've got a wildfire that's kind of spreading into the metro area of Denver, which is where I live. But anyways, it was a great 2 weeks ago, August 5th. Loved the opening of the 12-man tag team match. That was great to see that. I thought that was a great opening way to start off the episode, and then just going through the rest of the night, kind of liking, seeing Matt Cardona come in, teaming with Cody and stuff like that. He looked really good. Chemistry looked really good, I thought, between them as well. And one thing I really liked too was the big surprise of Bischoff moderating the debate between Chris Jericho and Orange Cassidy. I kind of like you don't have to necessarily have a little a huge surprise, but just a kind of a big surprise for the episodes. And if they want to keep on doing that little foreshadowing for next week, that would be great. I kind of like it. And then of course, with it being election season, we kind of have to throw in a little parallel with MJF doing his campaigning on Dynamite for his numbers, and to get a title shot and getting the title picture there with Jon Moxley. So I'm kind of liking that. I kind of like kind of what they do, and somewhat similar, but also with anything when it comes to wrestling, everything, they keep on saying everything has been done before, but it's just kind of how you put your little touch or a little spin on it to make it fit with your character. Okay, well, so then as of this recording, as of last night, or as of just a couple hours ago, we had the next night for August 12th. And some of the things that kind of stuck out to me once again was, again, we had a nice little surprise, and that was Mike Shirota coming to AEW and refereeing, and you got a little rub from Chris Jericho. So I kind of loved that. That was great. The matches, good with Dark Order, facing off against the Young Bucks. Good way to open it up. Of course, MJF with his continued campaign trail. Of course, we were teased that we were going to have Jon Moxley have an appearance. We got the TNT championship defended again. That's good. Kind of showing it that we don't have to necessarily do it every week. But I kind of do like it, though, being every week, because it does kind of show that it's important and kind of puts a staple on the show. TNT Championship, TNT Dynamite. Kind of get the connection there. And then, of course, with it being a Tag Team Appreciation Night, they really kind of focused and tried to set up some matches when it came to the tag team realm. Having the Jurassic Express versus the champs of Adam Page and Kenny Omega. That was good to have that on there. Loved the match of Shida and Heather Monroe, which I have seen Heather Monroe a few times here come to a couple of the promotions here in the area and things of that nature. And speaking of attending, they did mention that there were fans in attendance at the show last night, and doing a little research, that necessarily isn't true, and they broke kayfabe and mentioned that it was basically probably some Jaguars employees and family and VIPs, which, in my opinion, is kind of totally cool. And of course, that was going to be found out that they were going to pull that curtain eventually, but at the time it was kind of like a shocker. I was like, oh, really, are they doing that? And let me say this too. Here in my area, we have had a couple of the promotions start back up, and fans have been able to attend, and with the distancing and safety measures in place, and it has all turned out okay. I haven't gotten sick attending, or anybody that I know of, as well as the wrestlers, but everybody is being smart and safe and things of that nature. In fact, this upcoming weekend and the next 3 weeks, we're having some huge shows here in Denver and the Colorado area. So just something to keep about that. These things can be done. We can get back to a little bit of normalcy and have a little bit of fun, but just everybody be smart and not do stupid things like, let's say, one of my other passions, baseball, like the Florida Marlins and St. Louis Cardinals. But that is a subject and a soapbox for another show. So getting back to AEW, Chris Jericho and Orange Cassidy, a great thing. The stipulation was the $7,000 challenge, and it's great. I'm glad to see the Orange Cassidy kind of coming into his own. I got to see him before he got with AEW at a one of my shows, Lucha Libre and Laughs, and I don't think people got it, got his gimmick when we saw him here in Denver. But it's a comedy show. It's called Lucha Libre and Laughs. It's a comedy show with comedians in between the matches and then the wrestling. So his gimmick fit really well because it's like, it made sense. They had running comedic commentary during matches, so it was kind of match, and I'm loving seeing him in AEW and fleshing out this character, and now having that character being shown on a national stage. So it's great. So what do we have? And then the future. Let's talk about the future. So we got AEW announcing that 3 shows because of like conflicts with the NBA and things of that nature. And the NBA things that's going on there in the bubble, that AEW is going to be moved to different nights. So next week it's going to be on Saturday. My question is, and I didn't do any research, but I'm wondering if it's going to be taped. If so, is it still going to be available on its normal time on the TNT app? Just kind of wondering, because sometimes I watch it later on TNT versus the TNT app versus on DVR or live or backed up, the live pause, that you can with the DVR. So just some of my thoughts and questions, and I'm excited to see all about that. Excited to see All Out going to from last year to going to YouTube. That's great. Just kind of a stream of consciousness coming out here on this call, so I apologize that. And I got to, of course, attend All Out last year, so it's going to be kind of fun to maybe relive and watch that part 1 on YouTube here in the near future. Anyways, that is my thoughts and my view, once again, not from the cheap seats, not from the most expensive seats, but from the 4th row.
All right, Mr. 4th Row with a massive call, but lots to get into, lots to talk about. You liking his music? He's got his own personal entrance music, which I think is pretty cool. Stay safe. Wildfires in Denver? Never even heard of such a thing. But okay, there's wildfires in Denver. I've always thought that was a California thing. Down with what you have to say. Heather Monroe, I was interested in seeing how she did as well. It was short. Did they bring her on? I would assume that we might see her on Dynamite, because the women's division needs to be beefed up a little bit. Attending live wrestling events and no one's getting sick, that is great news. I'm not really sure I would do that. I'm still kind of even like not down with the whole restaurant thing at this point, going to a live event. I mean, I maybe would go to AEW Dynamite if it's out, because it's outside. And if it was lots of distancing, maybe even a football game. I don't know yet. I'm not there. I'm not as brave as you are, but that's cool to be able to go events. We're glad to see that indie wrestling scene start to kick back in. And I was confused by your message on Twitter about TNT app. I don't think they don't want to release it, because if they did it on the TNT app, then everybody would know about it, and then everybody would spoil it. So I don't think that's happened. I think everything will get released on Saturday night at 6 o'clock. I would thought about too, because our question of the week is moving Dynamite to Mondays. That's why I was like, wouldn't it have been interesting if they said, you know what, we're going to do Monday night, move Monday instead of Saturday. They're competing with NXT, and that's all fine and dandy. However, you're actually starting to beat Raw. So forget about NXT. You've beaten NXT. NXT is done. We saw with the ratings at 65th, which I think is one of the lowest I have on record. I'm not 100% sure. So moving it to Monday night might have been better. Well, we'll see. The ratings aren't going to be good. It's not going to be anything comparable for the next couple of weeks. It will be interesting to see the show on Thursday nights and see how that does. But usually when TV shows shift time slots temporarily, they always take a hit in the ratings. So I would assume you'll get in that 600, 700,000 range for Thursday nights. And I cannot see Saturday night doing well at 6 o'clock of all times. Maybe they're trying to tap in to that WWE audience. I get it. We'll see what happens. So if you want to be part of the show, email podcast@prowrestlingnewshub.com or call 888-430-7692 extension 3. Follow us Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, Pro Wrestling News Hub. Leave us subscribe and like our stuff on YouTube. Check us out, Pro Wrestling News Hub on YouTube. We redid the channel It's different now. So we got new content up there, so check us out on YouTube. You download our apps, that's cool too. Leave us a review on Apple Podcasts. We'll read it on the show. And you can listen to us everywhere. Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google, YouTube, TuneIn, iHeartRadio, Stitcher, all of them. ProWrestlingNewsHub.com/AEW-podcast, where you can find show notes, links to all the articles that we talk about on the show. Join us on our Discord. That's all over on the website. You can find us there. And that's it for me, folks. Thanks for listening. Mahalo. God bless to you all out there. Put that mask on. And I will see you all later.